Hello, everybody. It's Stu Smith and Jeff Nichols. We are back. It's been we took a little time off over the holidays, and now we are rolling again with a new tactical fitness report. This one, we're going to focus on MarSOC. That stands for Marine Special Operations Command. If you have been anywhere involved in history whatsoever, you'll probably remember SOCOM developed in the 80s. And it was typically just Army, Air Force, and Navy that were involved. There was no Marine. They had what they called special operations capable in their recon units, and they weren't a part of MarSOC, or they weren't a part of SOCOM. And after 9/11, they became part of SOCOM. Now, to do that, a little bit of history before we get into this is they had to take their force recon groups and pull them into making a MarSOC training cell or just a operational cell for that matter. They basically took force recon and made MarSOC. Then they had to create new MarSOC guys, so they created a schoolhouse around the new MarSOC mission, while at the same time they had to rebuild their force recon. So it was in a state of flux there in the early mid 2000s, and now they're rolling. They've rebuilt their force recon. They have got a perfect schoolhouse for what they are doing in the SOCOM world, and we're going to discuss that process right now. So, Jeff, let's turn it over to you, and we'll start off with, you're a Marine. What do you have to do to become a MarSOC Marine?
Yeah. So again, and for any of you that are listening and that were former MarSOC guys or force recons or former Marines, we're going to try and be accurate, but not so precise, because like with Stu and I with Buds, we can recollect and guide a little bit. We don't mean to misinterpret some of this, so we're really going to try to hit the wave top. So if we omit stuff, we're not doing it on purpose. But so with the MarSOC folks, it's my understanding that there's not a direct contract. The selection process looks a lot like the Army did, SF did, before you could get the direct SFAS contract. Right. You have to be, I believe, like E5 promotable.
Yep. 3 years of Marine.
Yep. A minimum timeline within an infantry unit or the Marine Corps unit before you can apply through your chain of command for a billet at actually MarSOC. So because MarSOC is kind of spread a little bit, it's in, part of it's near Quantico and AP Hill. And then it's between Lejeune and Quantico too, I think, and it's in flux. But
yeah, some of their phases are different regions. Yeah,
their schoolhouse, though, I believe, is in Quantico. Yeah.
No, it's in Camp. It's Camp Lejeune.
In Lejeune.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, again, so this is what I mean. Like, I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. So anyways, getting back on track, it's once you get that opportunity, then like many other courses, there are the minimum standards of a push-up, run, sit-ups, and all those sort of things. Theirs is a 3-mile run. As far as the running is concerned, it's a 3-mile run. It's pull-ups. It's a sit-up, max sit-ups in a minute, or it's you got to get to 100. But also within that, it's kind of everything's testable, just like us, just like in Buds and other sort of things. And then you have the really beautiful thing about the Marine Corps is that, and I know that the opinion of a lot of the Marine officers and Marine enlisted is that the Marine Corps has this really amazing sort of bastion of they're the last bastion of like real soldiers, I think. I mean, it's no disrespect to the Marines and those sort of things, or I'm sorry, the Rangers and stuff. Yeah. That's not what I mean. Yeah. It's just, there's just something different about the Marine Corps that you just, and I think that's what Stu kind of touched a little bit, is the history piece, is that there is this, you're always an infantry first. You're always a rifleman first. And so there's this sort of like, we're not special in the Marine Corps, but they really are.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of like big brother, little brother sort of internal conflict. So that's why it took so long for them to get to SOCOM, I believe, is just kind of like, no, we're not special, but these guys really are. So, the standards aren't super high, but they're high. Because the Marines are like, no, there's no like minimum, like, you're going to do this. You're not even going to get to the next phase. So, and then their other piece too is, in the swimming phase for them, the swimming that they have to do, the 500-meter swim with camis.
Yeah. That's full camis on. If you've never done any swimming with camis on, wake up. because
I think it's with boots too, isn't it? Is it not? It's full.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's just camis. You get to swim. I mean, one thing that the Naval Academy did, we used to have this one test, and I don't even want to come close to comparing, swimming tests at the Naval Academy with Special Ops World, but we actually had this one test. We called it the 40-year swim, where you had to swim for 40 minutes with your uniform on, right? So you jumped in with your shoes on and everything, but you took your shoes off and then you started swimming. Now, if you could swim a mile in 40 minutes with your clothes on, you could validate the entire semester of swimming that year. So anybody who's going special ops, that was our standard. We were going to swim a mile, so we didn't have to, go to a swim class, every day, and your time is precious there.
Save some time, especially there, especially as a young plebe.
Oh man, but yeah. Anyway, so that was it. It took significant amount of practice learning to get comfortable swimming with your clothes on, because you have no glide. So it is constant effort. So there's a conditioning factor that has to take place, comfort factor that has to take place. But then you also have to play around with the strokes, because you're going to get tired doing freestyle. You're going to get tired doing side stroke on one side. You got to play around with the other side, and you don't have fins on. So, this 500-yard swim is the big killer for those Marines that want to be MarSOC Marines.
Right. And so that's where the interesting balance becomes like, and then there's another piece to it that you have to balance here, and we'll talk about in a second with the rucking. But that's one of those things where you have to really you have to go beyond just experiencing camis. Like, you can't just put the camis on and get in the water and go, oh yeah, I can do this. It really is something that Stu and I would both really recommend you practice, really practice.
Yeah.
In addition to doing a good bit of swimming without camis, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's not one of those things. It's like, for me, even, it's like, I can swim like a fish, but I don't swim very well with camis on. So
no one does.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You really got to practice it, is my point. So don't omit that. If you want to get into MarSOC, this would be a really good thing to do right out of the gate. Is practice with camis on. Okay. And the other they do it right when the swim finishes, it goes into a 15-minute tread with camis.
Right.
Even equally as important, that's probably something you want to get acclimated to, is doing the tread with camis on.
Yeah. And obviously, if you're going to run 3 miles and run it fast, you need to be running several days a week. I mean, I would say roughly 5 or 6 days a week of running and swimming to get to and through this challenging part of the selection course.
Yeah, that seems to be the synonymous standard in all aspects of the Marine Corps, whether it's Marine Corps OCS with a 5-mile run, right? Yeah. Or the PT test in the Marine Corps that's 3 miles and all these sort of things. Certainly there are people in the Marine Corps that are not meeting the standards in the physical side, and the fit Marines are the first ones to bitch about that. Rightly so, right? The esprit de corps and the love that Marines have for the Marine Corps, like it's contagious. And I kind of that's what I mean by that last bastion of traditional military sort of way. It's like, you see a Marine in an airport, their uniform is squared the fuck away.
Yeah, they are squared away.
If
you take anybody who's right out of boot camp, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines.
Oh man, yeah.
It's night and day between those other 3 services and a Marine Corps boot camp graduate.
Yeah. So guys, take notice of that. Like, and the best time to see it is like traveling for the holidays. And I love the Navy. I love the Army. I love the military. But it's one of those things where you see a Navy, an E3 Navy coming from boot camp. Now, that's it's not their fault, because you come out of Navy boot camp just a big soup salad. You just do. But you see an Army guy, because they're going to be in their BDUs. You see a Marine in uniform. Jesus, the Virgin Mary herself would be, you'd think that she was his tailor.
Right. Yeah.
So anyways, awesome. I can really appreciate that. Even though I never wore a uniform in 11 years, hardly.
Right.
So again, I'm getting back on track, folks. Don't omit learning how to get used to swimming with camis on, treading, all those sort of things. And then Stu, you want to touch on, so the next piece is these guys. So one of the big differences, but it's similar to the SF side is, and right out of the Vortec way too, is, in buds, we didn't ruck until after Hell Week. And really it was just kind of like, it was that transition of like, welcome to second phase. And it was by design, because second phase, you spend so much time in water, and being in the water really helps you recover from all the beatings you took in first phase. And then you add the resistance, because we do resistance training in second phase. We lifted weights, and then the rucking. So it makes really good sense. But my point is on the SFAS side and the MarSOC side, you show up and it's like ruck, go.
Yeah. You're going to get tested in rucking too.
Yep.
And it's a high standard.
Yep, it is. It's a 10-minute pace with 45 pounds. So take that away.
That is no joke. I mean, if you look at the regular Army standard, it's 15-minute miles.
Yeah.
I mean, that, when I say minimum standard, that's to fail it, right? If you get slower than that. But, you could do a 12-minute mile, with some shuffling. It's not too hard. It's still at my age, I can do a 12-minute mile with that weight on, but to get a 10-minute mile, that requires a little bit more effort. Yeah. And if you're going to hold that out for 5 miles, I don't like to get into a running, what's a good term for it? I don't like to run with a ruck, because if I were to run with a ruck the way I run, I would be hurting pretty quickly. So it is a different type of stance too. It's more of it's a very fast shuffle. Your stride is shorter, and it's super fast power walking, really is what it is. But it really looks more like a shuffle.
And so in buds too, the contrast is this a little bit. And not that you don't get this at Lejeune and places too, because it's pretty sandy down there. But in buds, when we do like the ruck runs-ish, they're on soft sand.
Yeah, that blows.
And that kind of mitigates some of that trauma, but it actually takes a lot of your force production. Now in third phase at the island, we did the 36 miler with 50 pounds. And it was a fast shuffle, and it was just a complete, and the cadre did it with us. And I remember that being enjoyable. Now on the flip side of the Marine Corps, it's out of a cannon, man. And it's same like that. It's the SAS model, right? It's also Delta's part of their sort of long walk model. It's just like go. And the feedback and all those sort of things I'm getting off topic. But my point is the Marines, the expectation of with the MarSOC, which I think is a really good thing to do, is it's like, here's the standard. Day one, you got to get it. It gets more difficult as the course goes on, but that first chunk is as difficult as any chunk in any special forces program.
Absolutely.
On the physical side.
That's where they get all their attrition. They're going to get their attrition in that first 3-day weekend of challenges and then they have a 3-week phase 1 assessment and selection. Then they have a phase 2 assessment and selection. Yeah. And that's where Jeff was getting into when they start modeling after SAS and Delta Force stuff, because now you're going to get no feedback on when you need to finish this ruck.
Yep.
You don't know how long the ruck is. You don't know when you get to finish. You don't know the type of pace you need to set. You just need to set a fast pace
and go.
And it could be 10 miles. It could be 20.
You'll get to a checkpoint and they'll go, you didn't meet the standard, you're gone. So it's really a beautiful, and I think maybe that was part of why, I'm going to guess, because a couple things. The Marines don't underplan, number one. The Marines don't ever underplan. They do not. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful operation. So, when they showed up, they were able to, when MarSOC was actually stood up, and I had John Stevens on one of my Instagram lives. He was one of the first ever team leaders for MarSOC. And if anyone wants to go to MarSOC and wants to ask questions, hit me up in a message. I will direct you to John, because that's what he does right now. He trains military law enforcement out of Texas. Good dude. Anyway, super good. Anyway, so the thing is that with the programs is it took them a bit, because they wanted to, what they did is they audited. The Marine Corps went to Ranger School, went to our selection, went to BUDS, and went to all these places, and they created a program that they're like, man, they were able to learn from all of our mistakes for decades and just go, oh, I say the military, and they put this program together, and I look at it and I go,
yes,
this is really well thought out.
Absolutely. It is a mix of every good thing about Spec Ops training rolled into a 9-month course.
With in the beauty and say, it's not about that they created this great course just ambiguously. It's what happens is that you rarely will see something that's this robust, and you really see it in pro sports and amateur sports where it's like, oh, they got to make a bunch of mistakes before they create a great solution.
Yeah, no,
right out of the gate, man. They're putting out Raiders.
They figured it out from the start using all the best practices for the last 30 or 40 years of special operations training. So they figured it out really well. And this course, once you get through these first 6 weeks, which is very similar to the way SEAL training is, once you get through those first 6 weeks, I mean, you really start learning the training. It doesn't get easier. Right. It doesn't get easier physical. It doesn't, the harassment's still the same, but you start learning your job. You start learning diving. You start learning land nav and shooting.
It reminds me a little bit like, there's this clear, hey, you've been selected to go into the actual Raider pipeline. But even then it's kind of like our SQT equivalent, kind of.
Yeah.
I think it's not, but it is. It's just like there's this clear delineation of like, okay, you've been selected. Well, now the real test becomes, we're going to take your physical capabilities and see if you can start developing on skills. Like Stu said, diving, free fall, team building, all these sort of things that they've pulled from these courses. And, it's when these guys come out of this selection, they're ready to roll.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it. First, they've been Marines for 3 years. Now they've gone through this selection course. Their first phase is a variety of things from TCCC, which is tactical combat casualty care, which is basically medical, but you learn how to be a medic, fire support and communications. I mean, this is all advanced stuff. SEER school, all of that stuff they expect these guys to be operators now. Yep.
They do VBSS. Nautical. So here's the thing too, is that what John did for me, which is how he and I created a MarSOC training program. He was one of the original team leaders. And then because of that, he was one of the original cadre for MarSOC. And so I got a huge cheat sheet. I'm looking at a 5-page document that John created that basically verbatim spells out every day and week of that program. So Stu and I have that's what we're working off of. And I know Stu has written some really good articles on this particular thing. And so why am I saying this? I'm saying this is because we, Stu and I, and through John or just our own research we were able to do a pretty good job of like an 80% solution of what the physical standard is. That's what we're saying is now that we know the physical standards, we can create a program based off of that. And that's what Stu and I have done for all of our stuff. Right. We basically reverse engineer everything and go, okay, this is what it's going to take. And, we train above that. But that's the beauty of because here's my overarching point is like, if you can have the Marine Corps reverse engineer a bunch of these selection courses that immediately create good, really great, competent Raiders, well, certainly Stu and I can reverse engineer what it took and write great programs to help with that. And so it's not rocket science, but it's really cool to be able to see validation, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I mean, their course has been validated through 40 years of special operations training. And, the one great thing that Jeff and I also do, we train kids locally too that go on to do these great jobs. Yep. And, they're a testament to the type of training we do. And then those things become programs that are available online and articles and books, whatever. Basically having a very similar type of training program with the results of people make it through the training. And I think the biggest thing, especially for this recon / MarSOC phase training in the Marine Corps, which takes Marine Corps training to another level, is building the type of durability that's going to allow you to make it through this course, and you got to be good at PT. And when we talk about tactical fitness, it's everything. You got to be good at PT, you got to lift, you got to run, you got to swim, you got to ruck. And, if your week looks anything different than that, you may not be preparing yourself properly.
Yep. I'm just going to read something verbatim here that really just summarizes everything in its value. This might be, again, this is this example that Stu and I say is like, we can literally give you the textbook of BUDS, and in this case, MarSOC selection. Even if you know it, it won't help unless you prepare for it. So I'm going to read basically the culmination of MarSOC training pipeline is called Operation Raider Spirit. Okay. It's an exercise. Basically, I'm going to paraphrase some of it. Students spend 9 days in the field with 90-pound rucks with a tempo that closely mirrors BUDS. Much like BUDS, the training value is diminished by day 2 from the lack of sleep and the amount of students are moving. On the last day, the students receive their extraction point that is 12 miles away. They have 2.5 hours to get there with that 90 pounds or roughly. The students are frail and hallucinating hard at this point, leading to a lot of the same injuries that they saw at the beginning of their initial first phase. Right. And so it's saying, they're going to, at the end of the exercise, they have walked 128 miles in 12 days, 6 hours of total sleep. Right. So how does the human body endure that? And that's exactly what we're doing is like, we are trying to reverse engineer mathematically based off workload so the physical body can handle that sort of load. You'll notice that in our programming, Stu and I aren't taking a day at BUDS and making it as difficult. What we're doing is we're taking the average demands of the human body over that duration and making sure our work, because again, if you plot it on an X and Y axis, right, there's an average. Right. Some days are really, really difficult. Some days aren't. But there is an average. There is a line, a mean line. And we're training 10 to 15% over that mean line. And what happens is if you train 10 to 15% over that mean line over time, you can create a tremendous amount of work capability over that time, which is, again, we're going back, Stu and I saying, give yourself time to train.
Yeah.
Because if your window is too short, your work capacity has to be so high that the majority of people encounter overtraining injuries that then drop the work capacity way, way low, and then they never are able to work up to it.
Yeah.
This is a big dance that we're trying to do here, folks. And I know, and Stu and I both know that you guys are like, we got to pull the reins back on you guys, because all of you that are going to serve this country, whether it's a police officer, firefighter, or some tactical unit, your hair's on fire. You're the type of people we want you to go.
Yes.
But we're trying to get you to go, okay, let's approach it analytically, just like you are going to clear a house, like you're going to run a mission. So your mission that we're giving you is like, be patient, give yourself some time, and run a program, multiple programs, cycle multiple programs over time to make sure that you can handle this Operation Raider Spirit.
Yeah.
That's the goal, right? And then from there, you leave selection feeling like, man, that kicked me in the butt, but I learned a lot because my approach was good. Selection is perfect, right? Every single time it yields Raiders.
Yeah.
Now what do we do on the back end? Well, we've learned so much, okay? And then we carry it on.
Yeah, I love it.
So that's our, and then on the flip side, if you want to get this firsthand, Stu and I are both going to be presenting at the Tactical Strength Conditioning Summit here in Virginia. When is it, in May?
Yeah, April.
Yep. So you want to really see all of these people, to include us, that do this for a living, to those units, come to Virginia Beach, Norfolk, the Marriott. So
yeah, check it out. The National Strength and Conditioning Association's Tactical Strength and Conditioning Annual Training is what it's called.
Yep.
Do a Google search, you'll find it. It's on the website of National Strength and Conditioning Association, and we're there. Can't remember exactly the day we speak. I think we speak on a Thursday. Second day or Thursday.
It's a Monday, or is it a Tuesday through Friday or something?
The schedule's up, and it
is. It's on the website.
Yeah.
It's worth every penny, folks. I'm telling you right now. And again, if you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, here's the beauty of it. You show up, you're going to run into Stu and I, and you're like, and Stu and I will introduce you to anybody that's there. And who is there?
Everybody.
Every strength coach.
FBI.
Yep.
Hostage rescue team.
Every unit.
SEALs, Marines, Air Force PJs, Rangers, and all the guys that run those strength and training programs and even develop some of those programs. I mean, I think the last few times we've had, gotten to know the people who developed the RAW, Ranger, Athlete, Warrior program. I mean,
the person that created his name is Donnie Bingham. Yep. He'll be there. Yeah. So that's what my point is. Like, the beauty is like, if you really want to get to the people, and it's difficult, folks, to get to some of this information, but you're going to get everybody under one roof, number one. Number two, you're going to find out how truly willing these civilians and active duty folks are to help you. Yeah. Because they want good people too, right? So actually, as a matter of fact, probably what's going to happen is Stu and I will just do a video specifically on that to inform you. But for the time being, like, this is just a spillover of saying, Stu and I do this. Certainly we want to be successful. The best way for us to be successful is to help. Yeah. Help y'all. So that's what we're doing.
And I know we started on the MarSOC title, but if you really think about this MarSOC training pipeline, let's call it, 1 year, 3 year Marine, 2, you go to a 3-day course to see if you really want it. And that's part of, they don't want to invest a lot of money in you right now because they're going to test you in 3 days to see how much you want it. And that sucks. Yep. That's going to be a gut check for you. You're going to do everything that, we just mentioned, all rolled into a 3-day weekend and probably not sleep that much too. Then you pass that, you get to go to first phase selection and second phase selection, which is 6 weeks of, I guess if we were to compare it against something, it'd be very similar to the first 6 weeks of SEAL training, where you're just going to, but they add rucking, and they have their, challenging elements of that too. But what Jeff and I are going to be talking about at this program really kind of encapsulates all training programs that are in the tactical fitness genre, because there are 3 phases of tactical fitness, right? There is the candidate phase. We call it getting to the training. What do you have to do? You have to pass fitness tests to get to the training, right? Then you have to get through the training. What do you have to do to that? Get specific to the demands of that said training that you're preparing for. And then the third phase is you are now an active duty Marine, operator, SEAL, PJ, whatever. Now you have a longer, probably the most important, this is where most time I think is spent in the tactical fitness world, is on the operator. And it should be, because they're going to be operators much longer, for 20 years, and they're going to be older doing their job than they are younger. So now it's all a part of, building smart training programs to help you maintain your abilities, as well as recover smartly from not only the physical, but also the mental stresses of the job.
Yes.
So that is tactical fitness. When we talk about tactical fitness, you can't just say, we're going to go flip some tires and you're doing tactical fitness. There are 3 long phases of tactical fitness, and that's what Jeff and I focus on.
Yeah.
Now, I will say I probably spent most of my writing career on the to and through phase. I haven't done a whole lot on the active duty phase, just because I know you're in good hands once you get to that phase. Last thing you need is a program from me, getting you through the training program.
In the SOCOM world, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing, is like, I think, on the non-writing and video side, the hands-on stuff that Stu and I do really are with the proportionally probably dealing with the active duty folks, because it has to start off with a conversation rather than just sending a link saying, hey, here's a program. Because what ends up happening is guys get worn down a little bit, and we really, that conversation sometimes, as Stu already said it, sometimes it really just gets, the training may not have to change much for that individual, but there needs to be probably a point of focus more on recovering, taking time off a little bit, or just changing some phases a little bit. So, and then here's the last piece I have that's in it's ironic, but it's a good sort of statement to have of, why do we wait so long to do MarSOC? It didn't come off our radar, But now the culmination of it really is this, is that Stu and I know kind of said a couple times, hey, pay attention, like do some research, dig into it, looking to see what's going on. Because what you see throughout all special forces is this selection, is you're going to get the minimum information to do tasks. And a lot of it is problem solving. A lot of it is, number one, pay attention, because they're going to give you just enough information to successfully complete. You're not going to have the opportunity very often to ask a million questions of like, hey, well, what about this? And what about this? And they're just going to be like, recruit, shut up. Or they're going to say, recruit, use your best judgment. You're going to be like, oh. So now it's not that Stu and I don't want you guys to ask questions to us. It's not it at all. But we need to, that's why we encourage you guys to be clear, concise, articulate. Okay. But before you do all of that, exhaust your own resources.
Yeah. Because
especially in the land nav stuff, specifically the land nav stuff, because it's used synonymously. Like that's an SAS, SBS, Delta, MarSOC. It's a direct support course. It's a BUDS piece. It's like they'll go, recruits are to do blah X. When you get to X, do Y. If you get to Y late, it gives you this parameters, and you're not going to get an opportunity to go, can you reread that? Use your best judgment. You're going to be like, holy crap. So this is the opportunity for us to say, that is why we put so much emphasis on being a student of your physical activity, not just, hey, well, what does Stu and Jeff say? And just blindly follow. You've got to be an active participant in your own problem solving.
Yeah. And, you have to hunt and peck. I mean, you're going to have to find what works for you. My running program may not work for you, and Jeff's may. It may work out there. A lot of it depends on your athletic history, how you're built, and what you can endure. Right from the start. So anyway, there's a lot of different things to do, and I know we kind of put MarSOC into this all encompassing tactical fitness spiel at the end. But, in the end, I have to say the MarSOC program it hits all areas of tactical fitness. Yep, you're getting the to, the through, the after. They're looking at building operators. Their mission is real. They're out doing great things already. The training program, requires, 3 years of being a Marine first, which is a high level standard. There are no beginner Marines, right? So you already have that standard. Then you have to take that 3-year foundation of being a Marine and take it up to another level in order to get through this challenging, and use that sample right there and compare it to yourself, right? Are you a 3-year Marine, right, as a senior in high school getting ready to enlist to go to SEAL training? Does that make sense, what I'm trying to kind of compare that to, Jeff?
Yeah, I agree. And that's where, again, that's right where Stu and I say, hey, have a plan. You're not going to, most people, let me back up. A 17-year-old that's a year out from graduating high school, we're not saying don't be excited to graduate and go in. We're saying is, if you're better served training and maturing for a couple years in the workplace or in college, that's what we're saying. Some it works for, some it doesn't. But the vast majority of the people that take their time, a year or two, and go in, it's the same thing that MarSOC is forcing to happen. Right. Hey, you got to mature for a couple years in the Marine Corps because you have to show a history of competence and maturity, because it's not a physical thing so much with the Marine Corps. It is. It's a big component of it, but they're not going to take a slip knot. Like if a guy has just been he's gotten some non-judicial stuff put down on him. He hasn't had good evals. His physical standards been kind of up and down. He's combative with his chain of command. The list is extensive.
Yeah.
That is what the Marine Corps, I believe, that is why they are getting such a great result out of their Raiders going through, is because people are deselecting themselves by being a turd. It's really what I'm saying.
Yeah. And, do the math. I mean, you're 21, 22 years old at the youngest.
Yep. And
you've
had a deployment in the Marine Corps. You will have had at least one deployment going into MarSOC selection. Yep. Probably at least one. You have built a reputation in the Marine Corps, and that's really valuable in the special operations community. Is the repetition you have will precede you, and it will follow you forever if you screw up.
Yeah.
So, anyways, again, and this is my last piece, is that in my 10 years of combat, and the first year was BUDS and SQT and all that sort of stuff, I've worked with a lot of different units, and I've worked with every U.S. Special Operations unit, and many in the I've worked with SAS, SBS, the Aussie SAS, the German GSG-9, the Mossad, the Polish GROM, the list goes on and on. Filipino Marines, SEALs, Korean, the ROC SEALs, everything. The unit that I trusted most to work with above everyone else other than Delta are the Raiders. They're better soldiers in every way. And again, I know I'm going to fire up the Rangers. I know I am the SF guys, and that's fine. Nobody soldiers better than the Marine Corps. Nobody across the board are better shooters than the Marine Corps. Nobody across the board as a unit, when you're especially working with a really experienced captain, a Marine Corps captain, I'll say that, and you might agree with this, disagree with this, combat season 03s in the Marine Corps.
Oh, they're
legit, man. Those Marine Corps captains are as cutthroat as any officer as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I just look at it and I go,
and
if I was going to go to war, that's who I'm going to take with me. I'm going to take the Marines with me.
And you know what? They're some of the smartest people, well-read people. I mean, take General Mattis.
Yep.
General Mattis, our Secretary of Defense, is a culmination of a life of doing that.
Yes.
And we revere him, because of his
good reason.
Yeah, with good reason. And he instills that in his junior officers and enlisted Marines as well. So anyway, there you go. That's what you get. That's what you get.
There you go.
MarSOC's badass, and the training's hardcore, and you have to put in your time if you really want to do it. And I think that's one of the things that MarSOC got right from the start.
Agreed. Totally agreed. So I think we've hit a lot of topics, even, off topic, but still relevant.
Yeah.
But here's I guess a snapshot. Maybe the next one, Stu and I are contemplating a few topics on that. If you guys have suggestions, because we've had a lot for MarSOC, which is also the biggest reason why we decided to do this.
Yeah.
We're looking to do one on probably the rescue swimmers, Coast Guard rescue swimmers. That's one we haven't touched it. We just got something in the works where their schoolhouse is just south of here. I've been there a couple times. We got kind of invited to come, but we're trying to get a time where both Stu and I can head there and really have a conversation with the cadre there, and maybe pull in some B-roll and some video for you guys that's within their scope of them being okay with. So
yeah.
Some things you guys have requested we haven't quite gotten done yet. We're trying to refine.
Yeah. There's some swimming ones, definitely. Jeff and I are actually considering on just doing a whole swimming video for special ops.
Like a formal
full out video for special ops swimming.
Like a film crew and everything. So that's just things you guys say we listen to. So
yeah. So we're moving in that direction, and we took a little time off over the break of Christmas and New Year's, and now we're hitting 18 hard, as you should be as well. So
we'll do it again.
All right, Jeff, good talking to you. I'll chat with you later.
Absolutely. Take care.